6 Sinister Rules in Our Haunted Town. Break 1 and face a terrifying disappearance forever. Every kid in Millfield knew the stories, the ones whispered in hushed tones after dark. 6 Simple Rules. Break 1, and you'd vanish, swallowed by the shadows, never to be heard from again. The town wore its fear like a shroud, a heavy fog that clung to its weathered buildings and vacant lots. Most didn't dare challenge the norm, but for Jamie Lawson, the weight of those rules felt like a noose tightening around his neck. As the sun dipped behind the jagged treetops, Jamie felt the pulse of defiance surge through him. Tired of being cooped up along with his single mom, who was too busy laboring her long shifts at the diner, he decided to break free, just for a moment. You only live once, he thought, pushing through the forest outskirts. Those woods, crawling with dread, loomed dark and twisted ahead. Each tree towered like an ominous sentinel, their gnarled branches reaching for something. Everything felt off. The whispers of the rules echoed in his mind. Don't go into the woods after dark. Instinctively, he froze. What was he doing? But the thrill electrified him. His heart drummed loudly against his ribs as shadows danced menacingly around him, mocking his fear. Suddenly, the air shifted. The stillness shattered as he heard footsteps behind him. Jamie spun around just as Ethan, the local sheriff, stepped into view. He was charming, friendly, an image of safety. But tonight, something was different. There was an intensity in Ethan's gaze that made Jamie's skin crawl. Out here alone, are we? He said with a grin that revealed too much of his teeth. Something about it didn't fit. Jamie's instincts screamed at him to run. Funny seeing you, kid. Heard some interesting things about your family. Ethan stepped closer, the warmth in his voice sending a chill down Jamie's spine. You know, your great-grandfather was involved in some peculiar events. The sheriff's grip tightened on Jamie's shoulder, and the boy felt the world's air whoosh out of him. Why did Ethan feel like an executioner, leading him toward his fate? Panic bloomed, overwhelming him. Had he broken a rule? Would he be another ghost story? Jamie's mind raced, images flashing of those long-lost souls who had dared to defy Millfield's shadowy legacy, his own family imbued in that same dark history. Despair clawed at him. Don't break the rules, Jamie, his mother's voice echoed in his head. Would he be swallowed up next? Desperation took hold. What do you want? Jamie managed, the words tumbling from his lips as he searched for an escape route. Ethan's expression was unsettlingly calm. Just a little tour of these woods, Jamie. Trust me, it's safer with someone who knows. The weight of dread pressed down on Jamie, the trees like whispering sentinels. He had to get out. He took a shaky breath and darted between gnarled trunks, heart racing as he plunged deeper into the shadows. Cold sweat dripped between his fingers as the forest seemed to close in around him, the trees twisting together, trapping him. An anxiety surge surged through his veins. Where was he going? The ground felt unsteady beneath him, alive with ancient whispers. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, a rustle broke the silence behind him, a creature, or worse, the sheriff stalking his prey. Jamie's heart raced faster. He remembered the final rule, never look back. But it was too late. The woods stank of ancient sins, promises, and regrets, and he could sense the weight of judgment behind him. You can't break the rules without facing the consequences. Ethan's voice echoed, cold and distant. Fear gripped him, and he stumbled forward, searching for a flicker of hope, a path that might lead him away from this nightmare. But the shadows thickened, and the twisted branches curled like fingers, reached out for him, trapping him in a terrifying embrace. As the darkness deepened, he realized something chilling. Millfield didn't just harbor fears, it thrived on them. Would he become one of its lost? The woods whispered back, "You can't escape." And with that, Jamie knew his fight for survival had just begun. Jamie dashed forward, feet pounding against the uneven ground as panic propelled him deeper into the suffocating darkness. The air was thick with the scent of moss and decay, mingling with an unseen dread that coiled around him like a serpent. He couldn't hear anything except the rapid thumping of his heart and the rustle of leaves behind him. Were those footsteps? Was Ethan still following him, branches scratched against his skin, claws tearing through his clothes, grasping for the boy determined to escape? Each step was a battle against the unseen hands that reached out, tightening their grip with every moment. He fought the urge to look back. The rules echoed in his mind, a grim chorus warning him of his impending doom. Keep moving, he urged himself between gasps of air, but his legs felt like lead. The forest loomed larger, the trees isolating him like twisted giants, their bark twisted into grotesque faces whispering secrets he feared to know. Just then, a flash caught his eye to the left. A brief glimmer of light. A chance? He turned sharply toward the fleeting flicker, his instincts battling the gnawing fear. As he stumbled toward it, he burst into a small clearing. The moonlight illuminated a shattered old stone well, its mouth gaping wide like an invitation into hell. A shudder traveled down his spine. Could he hide in there? The well was dark and deep. Maybe it would swallow him, hide him from all he feared. Before he could think it through, Jamie rushed to the well, desperate and willing to take any risk. He peered inside, the darkness swirling like a living thing, beckoning him. "Please, please," he gasped, gripping the stones. The sound of footsteps grew louder, closer, an echoing reminder of what he was running from. He couldn't let Ethan find him. With a final push of desperation, he dropped down, his fingers scrambling on the rough edges as he lowered himself into the dark. For a moment, he hung suspended, heart in his throat, the earthy smell of wet stone and mold flooding his senses. Just as he grasped the bottom of the well, he heard it, a voice, smooth and sinister, breaking through the dark silence. "Welcome to your final resting place, Jamie." His blood ran cold. "Ethan." The sheriff's voice slithered through the stones like smoke, coiling around Jamie's heart with the icy grip of dread. He hit the ground with a soft thud, disoriented and terrified, breathing heavily in the dark. The walls of the well were slick with moisture, and he felt panic rising in his throat. Could this really be it? Would he disappear like so many had before him, another name erased from Millfield's history? But before he could succumb to despair, a distant light flickered again from above. It was gone as quickly as it came, but it wasn't just the moonlight. There was something else swirling up there, a memory? A figure? Instinct screamed for him to climb back up, to escape this tomb where shadows flourished. That he steadied himself, steeling his resolve, and pressed against the slick walls, eyes darting upwards. Just then, another rustle came from above, accompanied by a heavy thud. The unmistakable sound of something or someone had taken a step closer. Jamie had to move, but every instinct told him to stay hidden. As the shadows deepened and secrets began to seep through the cracks, his breath hitched. It was possible that Millfield harbored far worse than children's stories. A sinister truth waited just beyond reach, ready to drag him back into the depths of despair. As he prepared to face whatever would come next, Jamie wondered if the rules could even save him now. Was it too late? Before he could answer, the well creaked ominously above him, an unsettling reminder that he might not be alone after all. In a town covered by darkness, nothing was ever truly what it seemed, and something wicked anticipated his next move. Jamie pressed himself against the damp stone wall, heart racing louder than the rush of thoughts in his mind. He barely breathed, waiting for the next sound, the next hint of danger above him. The darkness clung to him like a wet blanket, thickening every moment he remained still. Another rustle invaded the silence, this time accompanied by low, guttural whispers that sent chills down his spine. "Jamie, come back!" the voice, distorted and mocking, wormed its way through the confines of the well. Panic clawed at him as his name twisted into an eerie chant. His instincts screamed, he wasn't alone, not anymore. He glanced up to the surface, already imagining the moment something could lean over the edge and spot him. The light flickered again, that strange, ghostly glow breaking through the thrumming darkness. It pulsed like a heartbeat, foreboding and mesmerizing. Jamie's body trembled. Was the figure up there friend or foe? You can't hide, Jamie, the voice taunted, spinning silk from the darkness, catching him in a sticky web of dread. The well only prolongs the inevitable. An overwhelming urge hit him, the urge to fight back, to claw his way out of this nightmare. Jamie pushed against the wall to find footing, fingernails scraping against the stone, but any hope of an escape faded as he slipped further into panic. Suddenly, from above, came the sound of gravel crunching. Someone was moving closer, casting a long shadow that danced ominously across the well's inner walls. Jamie's stomach knotted as he shifted his body to the side, desperately trying to find a way up. Don't you want to see what's left of Millfield? The voice purred, dripping with malice. So many have come before and none returned. Unearthly laughter erupted from above, a horrific symphony that mixed the cries of the trapped with the glee of the hunters. He closed his eyes, wishing that nothing lingered in the darkness, but he could feel the weight of countless eyes watching him from the shadows. Memories of Ethan flashed in his mind, his friend, his betrayer. All the broken promises wrapped in that dark laughter. As if sensing his despair, the thing above leaned closer, and Jamie instinctively pressed his back harder against the cold, unforgiving stones. In the pulsing gloom, he caught a glimpse of a figure silhouetted against the moonlight, a shape that was both familiar and twisted. Ethan, he whispered, the name breaking through a dry throat. Jamie, join us. The voice couldn't belong to his friend, not any longer. It slithered around him, wrapping tighter, squeezing out all hope. We'll show you everything if you just let go. He felt the darkness close around him like hungry jaws, urging him to surrender. Jamie fought against it, bitter memories brimming. Footsteps echoed down, heavy and deliberate, resonating like a funeral dirge. The hand of terror reached for him, eager to pull him back into shadows where even light dared not tread. Turn back. He screamed, wordlessly pleading for some semblance of reality in this sick masquerade. But the laughter grew, mingling with the urgent echo of his heartbeat until everything felt unbearably close. With his heart pounding in his ears, Jamie scrambled against the wall, pushing up just as another figure appeared above, this one not tainted. A glimmer of hope? Maybe it was a chance for rescue. He couldn't let it pass. Help! He cried, desperation lacing his voice. But as the light shone down, the figure's eyes glinted with an unnatural glow. Are you ready to learn the truth? It asked, voice sweet and cruel. Every hair on his body stood erect, dread coiling tighter within him. The well creaked beneath him, a warning to all who dared enter its mouth. As the shadows gathered, whispering secrets that crept around him, Jamie realized with horror that the time for breaking rules had passed. The real terror lay in the unknown, the choice he had yet to make. And just like that, the voice from above echoed, you don't have to decide right now, but remember, every choice has consequences. His heartbeat quickened as the stone walls seemed to close in around him, and Jamie understood one terrifying truth: Millfield was hungry for another sacrifice. What would happen when everything was revealed? And could he truly escape this hell before the final rule was invoked? The figure above leaned in closer, the pulsing light casting distorted shadows that danced across the wet stones below. Jamie's heart raced frantically as he searched for any semblance of familiarity, any sign of the friend he once knew. The laughter echoed, a twisted harmony of voices, drowning out his pleas for mercy. Come to us, Jamie, that voice continued, now threaded with a sense of urgency that made Jamie's skin crawl. You're running out of time. He couldn't decipher the threat buried within the honeyed words. The walls of the well pressed against him, a vice that tightened viciously with every pulse of darkness surrounding him. Jamie felt suffocated, his breath shallow and quick, mirroring his racing pulse. "Ethan, is that really you?" He managed to croak, the dread piling on top of his mounting desperation. "You have to help me." "Help?" The figure above wrinkled its lips into a grin, a grotesque masquerade of emotion that felt foreign and cold. "You need to understand helping you isn't what we intend." Jamie's mind screamed out, and every instinct told him to run, to ignore the spiraling spell of the whispers. But how? His body felt leaden, trapped in the well of shadows that emitted a loathsome chill. He focused up above, locking eyes with the glow that flickered like a dying ember. Somewhere deep inside him, an ember of hope flickered too. "What do you want from me?" His voice trembled, echoing through the chamber of despair that had swallowed his every thought. "Everything." The shadow shifted, inching closer, almost tauntingly. "You are a label now, Jamie. You belong to this town, the town of shadows. The rules bind us all. Break one, and pay the price." The figure began to transform under the spectral light, taking on phantom shapes of those who had come before him. Ghoulish faces flashed through the dark, eyes wide with despair, mouths open in soundless pleas. They were remnants, ghosts trapped in cycles of eternal punishment, all tethered to Millfield and its sinister past. "Join us, Jamie. We show no mercy to those who ignore the rules." It leaned even closer, the whispers now ringing like bells in his ears. The first rule, never look for the truth behind the well. The second, trust no one who calls your name. The third, do not come back after dark. The fourth, silence is survival. The fifth, know that the past holds the answers, and the sixth, what is the sixth? Jamie managed to yell, desperate to uncover the key that might set him free. Never forget, the one you seek will always lead you into darkness. The figure withdrew, leaving behind an anguished wail that echoed endlessly around him. Jamie clutched his head, the weight of their words crashing like waves against his sanity. It felt as if the well was alive, thrumming with the memories of those lost to its depths. Could he fight against the rules? Or was he already shackled by them, bound to become yet another soul tangled in Millfield's curse? With renewed determination, he clawed at the stones, anguish morphing into defiance. If he was meant to escape, he needed to make sense of the shadows, the voices, the rules, their sinister play. But as hope surged, an icy whisper tickled his ear. "It's too late." With a violent shudder, the walls cracked, gravel sliding down from above. Jamie looked up, and the figure's eyes glowed once more, hunger dancing within them. Then the ground beneath him lurched, the well urging him to yield to the darkness. What lurked beyond the shadows, just out of reach? As dread twisted tighter around him, Jamie realized the truth was waiting to consume him. Would he dare to embrace it, or would the town seal his fate for good? The darkness thickened, wrapping around Jamie like a shroud. Panic clawed at his throat as his eyes darted to the shifting shadows above. He could still hear Ethan's laughter, warped and twisted by the shadows, a sound that felt like shards of glass digging into his consciousness. "No, no, no," he whispered, shaking his head, trying to dismiss the oppressive weight that hung in the air. The fear churned in his gut, heavy and unyielding. What would it take to break free? Jamie's fingers grazed the wet stone wall, seeking any grip, any escape route, while the whispers swirled around him, tightening like a noose. Suddenly, the shadows above shifted again, revealing a fleeting image, a face marred by agony. Jamie squinted, trying to focus. Was that his mother? "Mom? Is that you?" He felt a jolt in his chest. Hope ignited only to be extinguished by a cruel chuckle. The figure morphed, solidifying into Ethan's grotesque face, glee painted across it. "Do you remember her, Jamie? You could have saved her. Just like you could save yourself right now." "Stop!" Jamie shouted, frantically shaking his head. "You're not Ethan." The thought clawed at him, tearing through the fabric of his resolve. Ethan wouldn't he laugh like that? He wouldn't he mock him? "Oh, but I am," the shadow replied, a sliver of light flickering across its ghastly features. And I can still save you if you play your cards right. Just follow the rules. What are the rules? He didn't want to play this game anymore, but the fear of remaining in this abyss gripped him tightly. Remember? They're your lifeline now. The voice slided around him, almost sing-song, as Jamie felt the ground quiver beneath him. Let me give you a hint, the sixth rule is more than just an echo from the past. It's a companion that stalks your every step and it waits for you to falter. With every word, Jamie felt the air around him shift, thickening with dread. Memories flashed before him involuntarily, the townsfolk's fearful glances, the stories of those who vanished, swallowed by the well, and the warning always repeating the past holds the answers that he was losing track of time, the present feeling more and more like a dream. But his senses were alive to the creeping horror. Each breath, sharp and labored, fueled a desperate need to escape. Jamie finally gathered his resolve and pressed against the wall, shouting, "What do I need to do? I'll follow the rules. I'll do anything." A moment of silence stretched, suffocating in its intensity. He could almost feel the gaze of the shadows, weighing his words like a judge would. "Run," it whispered back, its voice dripping with mock sympathy. "But run wisely." And then the shadows surged. The walls of the well heaved violently, sending stones crashing down like blunt arrows aimed for his heart. Jamie leapt, scrambling against the falling debris. He fought against the crushing darkness, fueled by something primal, the need to survive. As he clawed his way upwards, he overheard a flurry of voices echoing through the chaos, some familiar, some not, blending with the cold wind gusting down the well. They chanted distorted phrases, each one a taunt, each word gnawing at his sanity. "Do you really want to know the truth? Will you dare to find out? Will you trust the shadows?" He saw a faint glimmer at the top, a glint of silver that could be freedom, hope. With every ounce of strength, Jamie surged forward, refusing to yield, his heart drumming a wild, desperate rhythm. The exit was so close, yet it felt impossibly far, surrounded by an intoxicating dread that coiled tighter around his chest. Just as he was about to breach the surface, a hand emerged from the darkness, grasping his ankle like a vice. An anguished cry followed, the sound of countless fading souls echoing in the back of his mind, warning him, reminding him of the price for defiance. "Jamie! You can't escape the truth!" As he screamed, pulling against the grasp, a deafening silence fell around him, leaving behind a chilling question that rang clear through the darkness. What truth lay behind the face of the one who held him back? Heat surged through Jamie's veins as he fought against the grip, sheer panic pushing him harder against the unyielding darkness. He twisted and turned, desperate to free himself from whatever horror had a hold on him, but it tightened with every pulse of fear. "Let go!" His voice echoed, muffled and weak, swallowed by the shadows surrounding him. The laughter rose again, a cacophony of jangled nerves, like broken glass scraping against metal. "You can't escape the truth, Jamie." The voice taunted, the tone slick with delight. If only he could face it, he thought frantically. But what was the truth? Who was lurking in the dark? The hold on his ankle shifted, suddenly loosening, catching him off guard. He tumbled backwards, sliding on the slick stone surface. For a moment, the grip faded, and without thinking, he scrambled forward. The glimmer became brighter, beckoning him closer. Hope surged anew, he was so close. But the shadows had not finished with him yet. Seething whispers rose from the depths, swirling around him like a storm. "You can't run from your past," the shadows hissed, echoing off the walls, each word curling into his mind like vines snaring a branch. "It waits, always waits." Jamie pushed his way up, hands clawing at the edges of the well, pulling himself inch by inch toward freedom. A wave of adrenaline fueled his every desperate move. He couldn't be left here, not in this place haunted by the echoes of regret. As he neared the exit, something cold brushed against his neck, an icy breath. His heart froze. He peered over his shoulder, and there it was, a misty figure rising from the depths, hollow eyes locked onto him with relentless intensity. Jamie's pulse raced. It wasn't just a shadow but a remnant, a figure woven into the darkness. Something from his past. Something terrifying. "Don't you remember?" it whispered, voice dripping with sorrow and malice. "You made the choice. You turned away. And now, you must pay stop. Just go away." Jamie cried, but the figure lunged, stretching its arms, skeletal fingers seeking him like spectral claws. He felt an overwhelming sense of despair creep in, an ancient dread clawing at the edges of his sanity. The exit flickered, its glow obstructed by swirling shadows. Jamie searched within himself for strength, clenching his fists. He could not falter. In a final burst, he pushed off the stone wall, launching himself toward the silver beam of light. Freedom was inches away. He felt it, but the shadows weren't finished. The chilling voice from behind him hissed, "You believe you can escape the game?" With a thunderous force, the darkness recoiled, engulfing the well. It roared, drowning out all hope, as Jamie thrust his body upward, fighting against the force pulling him back down. "I want to let you take me," he screamed, his voice cracking as it sliced through the suffocating ether. At the last moment, as he reached for the glimmering edge of the world above, a gust of wind tore through the well, pushing him back, throwing him off balance. The spectral figure lunged one last time, phantoms swirling in a desperate tempest. Jamie grasped at the light, feeling it slip, the shadowy arms wrapping around him like a net. Then, with one final tug, he broke through the surface into vibrant air, into reality. He gasped, choking on crisp, night air, bracing himself against the cool stone at the edge of the well. But all around him, darkness loomed, watching, waiting. "What will you do now that you felt it?" The shadows whispered around him, echoing his own fear. Jamie scrambled to his feet, heart racing, breath ragged, but he wasn't done yet. He still had the rules to uncover. As he turned, a distant howl echoed behind him, followed by an unsettling silence. But Jamie didn't look back. He had to face this twisted truth, whatever it was, but in doing so, he would soon discover sometimes the truth is worse than the fall. With a chilling realization sinking into his bones, Jamie took a step forward, knowing only too well it wasn't over yet. What other horrors lay in wait, hiding behind the very rules he was trying to decipher? The darkness throbbed around him, a living entity eager to snuff out every flicker of hope. Jamie's heart hammered against his ribcage, each beat echoing urgency in the silence. His breath came in shallow gasps, the cold air biting at his throat, sharp as broken glass. As he staggered away from the well, every shadow felt infused with fear, ready to pounce. He turned his gaze towards the deserted street, knowing he had to get to the town square, the heart of the old legends. The stories whispered of vanished souls and twisted fates. He needed to discover the rules that governed this nightmarish realm. The cobblestones beneath his feet felt unnaturally warm, like remnants of heat left behind by something sinister. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting to see the misty figure trailing him, skeletal fingers clawing at his heels. The streets, usually vibrant with life, stood eerily still, only the wind stirring remnants of fallen leaves that danced like ghosts. "Just keep moving," he muttered, willing himself forward. A rustle in the alleyway made him flinch. Jamie's spine prickled with dread, instincts urging him to run. "It's not real," he hissed, but the nagging feeling burrowed deeper. In the square, faded posters clung to the lamp posts, their messages long forgotten. His eyes darted to a crumbling statue in the center, its stone figure twisted in agony. A chill crept along his spine as he read the faint inscription, "To confront the past is to embrace the shadows." The whispers returned, louder now, swirling around him like a tempest. "You think you can break them? The rules, Jamie." They crescendoed, mixing mockery with malice. "You've already failed. What choice will you make?" "I'll make the right choice," he growled, attempting to drown out the noise. But doubt gnawed at him. What if he couldn't? Suddenly, a raspy voice erupted from the shadows. "Rule 1, betrayal shall be your downfall." Jamie turned towards the sound, adrenaline surging through him. Standing just outside the light's reach, a figure emerged, a woman, her face cast in shadows, but he could recognize those haunted eyes. Megan? He gasped, heart plummeting. She was someone he had left behind, shunned at a moment of critical importance. The price was steep, and now it was clear he could feel it. "Do you remember what you did?" she whispered, the tone layered with regret and accusation. "Turn your back, and they'll consume you whole. Why are you here?" He shouted, anger spilling over his panic. "I'm done with this." "You can't run," she replied softly, voice cracking. "You didn't understand the cost, Jamie. Each step you take, the spirals twist deeper." "Stop it!" Jamie shouted, frantically shaking his head. He stepped back, heart racing, as the shadows pressed in closer, drawn to her presence. "You're not real." "Am I?" Megan asked with a haunting smile. "Or perhaps I'm the shadow of the truth." The air thickened, gravely oppressive, as Jamie turned to flee, realizing he could feel the ground shift, its pulse mimicking his own. The whispers crescendoed into agonizing screams. The rules of this cursed town were closing in, and he knew he had to find the next truth fast. Rule 2, never betray the ones who linger, echoed in his mind. He dashed through the square toward the trembling silhouette of an old church ahead, the only light flickering like a warning. Behind him, shadows slithered, a cacophony of twisted laughter and derision filling his ears. As he reached the doors, a sudden crash resounded within, the sound of something being unleashed. Jamie hesitated, thoughts racing. If he entered, what awaited him? The heart of the darkness? Or answers he desperately sought? In that moment, the heavy pull of dread wrenched at him, threatening to shatter his resolve. Would he face the doom of the myths head-on or turn back, running from the sins he'd buried deep? With a pounding heart, Jamie reached for the doorknob, trembling with the weight of the choice he was about to make. But as he turned it, the door splintered open, and what lay inside was far more terrifying than he ever expected. The wooden door swung open with a groan, revealing a dim interior, consumed by shadows. Dust motes floated in the fading light that spilled from a single flickering bulb above. Jamie stepped over the threshold, dread pooling in his stomach. It was more than just darkness inside, it felt like an oppressive weight, as if the air itself breathed malice. That he moved cautiously, heart thundering. The church was a graveyard of forgotten memories, pews toppled, the altar's cloth tattered like abandoned hope. His senses heightened, every creak of the floorboards a reminder that he was not alone. "Keep moving," he whispered, almost as if to convince himself. He felt it again, a cold draft that rustled his hair, sending shivers down his spine. From the corner of his eye, something flickered. A shadow darted past. He spun around, pulse racing, but all he found was the oppressive silence of the church. "Step up. Show yourself." He called out, voice shaking. The walls seemed to close in, and the whispers returned, echoing off the stone. "You came seeking answers, Jamie. But ghosts do not share their secrets willingly." A figure emerged from the darkness, its form ethereal and shrouded. Jamie blinked, and it took shape, a young boy, wide-eyed and transparent, standing at the foot of the altar. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice a ghostly whisper. "They'll find you." "Who will?" Jamie demanded, desperate for clarity. "The ones who linger," the boy replied, trembling like a leaf in a storm. "They cannot forgive." Before Jamie could process the boy's warning, the room plunged into chaos. A sudden crash echoed, reverberating off the church walls. A heavy cloud of dust swirled around him, choking his breath. Jamie's instincts screamed at him to run, but his feet seemed glued to the floor, rooted by an unseen force. The specter of Megan flashed in his mind, her haunted eyes swirling with disappointment. "Betrayal shall be your downfall," her voice echoed, twisting within him. The boy's pale finger pointed toward a door behind the altar. "You must go before they take you." With a surge of adrenaline, Jamie sprinted toward the doorway. The whispers morphed into howling rage, accusing him, clawing at his thoughts. You think you can escape? You think truth can save you? Their wrath coated the air thick with danger. Jamie burst through the door, stumbling into a narrow corridor lined with portraits. Each face watched him, eyes hollow yet full of despair, several mouths silently pleading for release. He felt their sorrow washing over him, heavier than any guilt he carried. Stop! You left me, one voice cried out, a woman's face twisting in accusation. Jamie staggered, heart pounding in fear and recognition. It was a friend lost long ago, her memory wrapped in a sin he couldn't shake. No! He shouted, pressing forward, desperate to escape the pain. But the corridor seemed never-ending, tormenting him with echoes of the past. The further he pressed, the louder the voices became, each accusing him with memories of betrayals he'd long buried. He reached the end, a door marked with unsettling engravings, a warning, or perhaps an invitation. He felt the pulse of dread tighten around him. Beyond it lay the truth he sought, but it felt more like a trap. As he steeled himself to turn the knob, a sudden chill swept through him, and the air crackled with tension. The whispers cried out in unison, malevolent and mocking. Will you seal your fate? Will you confront the shadows, or flee like a coward? In that heartbeat, Jamie realized this was not just about survival, it was about saving himself from the sins marked by the rules of the town. The twisted fate waiting on the other side beckoned, a siren call of twisted truths. With a final breath, he pushed the door open, revealing a room flooded with eerie light and an unseen presence that sent shivers coursing down his spine. What lay before him? Was it redemption or ruin? As he stepped across the threshold, the door slammed shut behind him with a finality that echoed like a death knell. The weight of choices past loomed overwhelmingly. Close. Would he confront what awaited him, or would the whispers sink their claws deeper? In that moment, he knew, the rules of the town were far from just myths. Breaking them came with a price, and now, it was time to learn the cost of his defiance. The room was blindingly bright, an unsettling contrast to the looming darkness he had just left behind. Jamie shielded his eyes, disoriented. The air felt thick, almost viscous, clinging to his skin as if it were alive. He blinked, trying to adjust, but the brightness only intensified, shifting from blinding white to a sickly yellow. In front of him lay an altar, similar to the one in the main church, but this one had a sheen of fresh blood that glistened ominously. The sharp scent of iron pricked at his senses, sending his heart into a wild race. He stepped forward, as if compelled, and his foot splashed into the pooling crimson liquid. It felt wrong, like stepping into the essence of fear itself. Welcome, a voice echoed, soft yet suffocating. It came from nowhere and everywhere, wrapping around him like a suffocating shroud. It was inviting, yet dripping with sinister intent. Who's there? Jamie's voice sounded small, almost lost in the throbbing silence that surrounded him. Those who await your arrival, the voice replied, a hint of laughter underpinning the chilling tone. You've broken the first rule, Jamie. The town remembers. Each word struck like a knife, digging deeper into his gut. He recalled the boy's warning, the ones who linger. The sickening realization crashed over him. Every lie he had told, every betrayal he had committed was etched deep into the fabric of this cursed town. Suddenly, the flickering lights dimmed, shadows creeping along the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. Visages of the lost flashed through the darkness, mournful and accusing. Jamie recoiled, stumbling backward. The memory of Megan surged back, her face twisted in pain, silent screams echoing in his mind. A figure stirred in the shadows, a woman, her long, dark hair veiling her face. You left me, she whispered, the accusation slicing through the oppressive air. You chose to abandon me, and now, you have to pay. No. I didn't. Jamie protested, heart pounding, but the words felt hollow. The darker truth loomed over him, suffocating his defenses. Pay? The voice returned, ice cold. What of my payment, Jamie? How many lives will you throw into the abyss? Are you not here to face your sins? The room began to swirl, darkness stretching, pulling him toward the altar. He stumbled forward, desperate for a way out, but shackles of remorse gripped him, holding him fast. A whisper flashed in his ear, "You can never escape what you've done." The warmth of blood soaked through his shoes, and the onslaught of memories twisted around him. Laughter turned to cries, joy turned to despair, leaving him breathless. Each heartbeat thundered louder, drowning out rational thought. "Make your choice," the specters urged in unison, their voices merging into a cacophony that echoed in his mind. "Do you face the monster you've created, or let it consume you?" Jamie's vision sharpened, landing on a solitary object atop the altar, a glimmering dagger, wreathed in blood. The handle pulsed, almost as if calling to him. Was it a blade meant for sacrifice or redemption? Sweat trickled down his forehead as he wrestled with the aching truth of his past. A ghostly hand reached out from the shadows, and the woman's face emerged with pleading eyes. "You can't run. You must choose." He felt the urgency rising, a primal instinct urging him to act. The whispers grew louder, sharper, a tapestry of horror woven with both promise and threat. Time was slipping away, the echoes of his choices tightening around his throat like a noose. Would he grasp the dagger and name his demons, or would he let the shadows devour him whole? Just as Jamie reached for the gleaming blade, a sharp scream interrupted his contemplation, a sound of raw anguish that engulfed the room, sending him reeling back in terror. "Who?" he gasped, horrified. "The town will decide." The voice rang out, triumphant and menacing. The walls began to pulse, breathing with a life of their own. Shadowed figures surged forward, and Jamie's stomach dropped as he realized the answer awaited him behind that unfathomable choice. Would he become the next tale whispered in fear, or would he fight against the darkness closing in? The altar hummed with energy, and as Jamie wrestled with his fate, the dagger hovered, almost mocking him, drawing him dangerously close. In that moment hung a question heavy as lead: what would be his breaking point? The ghosts danced, eager spectators to his impending doom. Would he kill the darkness lurking within or succumb to its seductive embrace? The answer slipped away, leaving only a void tinged with dread. Jamie felt the weight of the dagger's handle press against his palm, its cold steel a visceral reminder of the cruel choice he faced. Whispers spiral around him as shadows writhe like living entities. Would he relinquish his fears to the dark, or would he reclaim the light within him? Every heartbeat hammered like a drum, echoing a primal rhythm urging him forward. He locked eyes with the ghostly figure of the woman, who blinked as if giving him a final warning, shimmering between mercy and accusation. "Face your truth," she cried, and the urgency in her voice pierced the oppressive silence, swirling around like a cyclone of guilt. "Do not let the darkness consume you." The dagger glimmered, alive with promise and threat. It beckoned its lure, promising clarity at a price that felt too steep. Would this blade deliver his soul into liberation, or would it seal his fate as it had countless others, buried beneath Millfield's myths? "Do I have what it takes?" Jamie whispered, conviction wavering like a candle flickering against the wind. Could he face every loss, every sorrow he had left trailing in the wake of his indifference? He thought of his mother, tirelessly working to make ends meet, of friends who had faded into myth, of Megan, and the moment he turned away. The sting of regret washed over him, wrapping around him like a shroud. Jamie's breath hitched. Yes, he made mistakes, but turning away wouldn't unmake them. It only created more shadows. With newfound resolve bolstering his spirit, Jamie gripped the dagger tightly, channeling all his pain and loss into that single gesture. "I will not let fear dictate my fate," he shouted, each word bursting forth like a flare into the night sky. "I own my choices." The shadows replied with furious roars, the atmosphere thick with anger and despair, as if Millfield itself disapproved of his defiance. "You think you can alter your path?" they hissed, rising higher and thicker, engulfing him, ready to snuff out this spark of hope, but Jamie felt the warmth of the dagger pulse against his hand. With a sudden burst of strength, he plunged it into the altar, feeling the impact resonate through the ground, reverberating like the heavy toll of a bell. The light around him flared bright, pushing back the oppressive darkness, cutting through the shadows like a beacon. The ghostly figures froze, eyes wide with a mix of fear and surprise. The woman gasped, her lips parting into an expression of something akin to relief. He had done it. He had confronted the darkness head-on. As he withdrew the blade, the shadows recoiled, shrieking in anguish as the light expanded, revealing their true forms, distorted figures of his past, sorrowful and anguished, now dissolving like smoke in the wind. Jamie breathed heavily, heart racing, the tendrils of dread loosening their grip around him. "Find your truth and choose to live," the woman urged, her previous accusation fading into a comforting tone. "Forgive yourself. This is the moment." In that instant, clarity washed over him, birthing an understanding long overdue. He didn't just need to confront his past, he had to embrace it. Every choice came with consequences. But perhaps, every consequence could lead to a path of redemption if he was willing to face the music. "Thank you," he cried, the shadows crumbling, their unsettling cries transforming into whispers of relief. The altar pulsed one last time before shattering into a cascade of light. As the light encircled him, Jamie felt a powerful rush of energy elevate him, surging through his veins, illuminating every dark corner of his soul. Millfield was shifting. The town held its breath, the echoes of long-lost children fading. The well no longer stood at the heart of the fear. It was the choice he had made that brought forth the dawn. As the light swallowed him whole, Jamie realized he wasn't just escaping the shadows, he was liberating them, too. He had rewritten a legacy born in fear by choosing to confront the truth, to embrace those he had left behind. Moments later, he felt the ground beneath him shift, the familiar warmth of home enveloping him. Jamie blinked against the bright morning sun, the town alive and vibrant, free from the ghostly chains it had worn for too long, and as he stood there, heartbeat steady, he finally understood one crucial lesson: the truths he uncovered would never define him unless he let them. Millfield had survived, and so had he. It was time to move forward, not alone, but together. With a deep breath, Jamie smiled. There was hope after all. "Millfield, I'm ready to make things right," he vowed, determination solidifying his resolve. This was not just a farewell, it was a beginning. Now, if you've loved this journey as much as I have, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure more thrillers like this come your way. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jamie's brave choice. Let us build our community, and I need you to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.